Hello, welcome to the Alone Show. I'm your host, John Alone. In this episode, no regulars, because reasons, as always. As for our guest, he is from England, and he is a technologist. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you JB Benjamin.
Hey, everybody, how's it going? It's great to be here.
Fantastic. So, how's life?
Okay, that's such an open-ended question, especially when you're an inhabitant of England, because anybody living in England knows this is a very crazy place. Yeah, things are going okay. There's tons of activity and traction going on at all of my companies. We are innovating, inventing, doing crazy things in the background, pushing forwards as ever, and always maintaining a spirit of hope, no matter whatever we read in the news. What about you?
Well, life for me is going great, as always, even though the weather where I am is depressing and always will be, I guess.
If it's Britain, of course it will be. That's what we specialize in, taking over the world, our empire, and really bad weather. Apparently, we also have
Uh-huh.
good tea, but I'm not a tea drinker. I just love coffee. So, yeah.
Fair enough. So, is there anything that you're currently working on or up to recently?
Well, yeah. I mean, what we're actually working on at the moment is because we work on loads of things over at my three companies. I mean, to give your listeners some background, I am the CEO of three tech companies: Cryotech, which is the specialized in cryptography and encryption, where I created and released the world's first post-quantum encrypted video messenger. What is that? Well, it's basically WhatsApp and Signal on crack, but not owned by anybody in the US and using a far higher level of encryption. Oh, and not got any backdoors for governments. We have Vox Alive, which is our own version of Facebook without the annoying ads or the realization that your data is going to get sold to Netflix and Cambridge Analytica and any politician with a mind to have it. And a whole bunch of other secure apps, including Vox Crypto, which allows you to send bulk transfers of Ethereum and Solana to people without paying ridiculous gas fees, and Vox Pay, where you literally become the owner of your own bank. Yes, that's right. You will have access. We're going to be releasing Vox Pay in about 3 months, which it's kind of like a banking app like Revolut. The difference being is we own all of the banking interchange that is operating in this system, which means we can offer you 52 currencies in 52 countries, anywhere around the world, including your own debit cards. And for those crypto junkies and degens out there, something even better, something you've been all lusting for your whole degenerate lives, which is frictionless, low fee, fiat to crypto, crypto to fiat, all in one app. So no more having to lose loads of money on exchanges and wallet transfers and all that nonsense just to be mobile in crypto and fiat. Then at my other company, Djinn Technologies, we thought we solved the problem of how do we make it cheap and equitable for everybody to participate in the metaverse. I mean, as you know, if you want to do any 3D scanning, the cheapest entry is to buy an Apple iPhone for £1,500 and then produce some kind of substandard 3D model from that. And then the mid-term to advanced would be going to somebody like Dimension Studios, paying them $6,000 a minute, or buying DepthKit by Scatter, which is $3,000 a month to create a 3D model or a digital twin or something like that. Our software is basically the Adobe Premiere of end-to-end spatial 3D video content creation. And we're going to be releasing that in the next 3 months for only about $39.99. So it's super cheap. Everybody will be able to participate and build content for the Apple Vision Pro or build digital twins and sell them on marketplaces for games and VR experiences. And then my other company is Gorgon Black Box, which I can't tell you much about because it's a private military corporation that does military, private, and public security stuff with all the stuff I do at my other two companies. Now, all three companies are now 100% owned subsidiaries of my Irish holding company, Akuma Engineering. Oh, and I'm also married and have 4 kids, so I do all of that. Yeah.
Wow, that is a lot to take in.
Yeah. The upside is I've not had to work for anybody in the last 5 years, and Vox Messenger has been around since 2017. I mean, the way I started all of this was, I was working as a product manager for a world's biggest corporate law practice, Freshfields Brookhouse Derringer. I was a security guard, bouncer. I've been a building site worker. I've been senior lecturer at my old alma mater, and everything I was earning, I was putting into building this technology and this infrastructure. Because what I've built, people do ask the question, why have I built it, given that we have WhatsApp, Signal, and other platforms? But it's a very easy answer. None of them are fit for purpose. They're only there to steal your data and sell it on. They're not actually there to advance you or improve your life in any shape or form. Whereas what I've built is an attempt, at least, in delivering something that brings a little joy in your life, brings safety, privacy, and security to your existence, while at the same time not forcing you into a compromise of giving up your digital soul just for some free service, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. What inspired you to become a technologist?
Um, I have always been a sci-fi Star Trek nut. I remember as a little kid living in Birmingham, because I grew up in Birmingham. I actually was born in Edgbaston, but then I grew up in Bawdsley Green East, which is incidentally where the Peaky Blinders come from. But despite all that, I was homeschooled, hence why I do not speak like a doyo, yam yam, or a Brummie. And what inspired me was, I got to be honest, it was Star Trek. It was watching Star Trek and reading Ray Bradbury sci-fi short stories. That looking up at the stars and realizing that we are literally just created from stardust. And then the further realization that as beings of a vibrational frequency, that we could always, if we tried hard enough, transcend our mortal capability. These are all these things that fascinated me. You know, the concept of being able to make all of our lives easier and healthier and safer by leveraging the power of our intellect and power of innovation to do so. You know, that's always fascinated me. And I think that played a large part in pushing me to be towards being a technologist. I would also say it was the fault of all of the bad technologists in the world, I'm afraid, is the reason why I'm here, actually. Because if I hadn't seen in the 80s and 90s, like so many good examples of technologists who abused their position, Bill Gates, I'm looking at you, mate, then, you know, I probably wouldn't have taken such a passionate stance on this. I mean, as a young man, I always thought that if you are building a certain type of technology which you really do hope humanity at large will use, you as the individual creator are accountable and responsible for its utility and usage. It's like, as a parent, if your child grows up to be a sociopath or a psychopath serial killer, I hate to say it, you're kind of responsible for that, because somewhere along the line, mummy and daddy dropped the ball. And it's just the same thing we have now with many CEOs or technologists releasing technology which does do empirical harm to its consumer base. And the best they can muster is turning towards the audience at a Senate committee hearing and apologizing. I hope that by building my products better and differently, I will never be in that position. And even if I were, I'd accept accountability better than that, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that. If you were to start another business, what business would that be?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I'm not starting another business. No way. But if I were going to start another business, I think I would create a business sticking to what I was originally interested in. And the thing I was always interested in was making films. That's what I originally wanted to do. I wanted to be a filmmaker. But unfortunately, in Britain, if you want to get funding to make a film, it either has to be a delightful, bumbling rom-com, you know, where you see the upper class and the middle classes living their lives romantically, or it's a horrific, stereotype reinforcing hood drama in which black people are just made to look bad. And I have no interest in making either of those kinds of films. I'm a Shaw Brothers fan. I'm a Kurosawa fan, you know? So if I was going to set up a business now, given the technology that's being developed, I would probably set up a business now that would help actors, actresses, voice, and other artists to maintain sovereignty over their creativity while still creating creative works, which incidentally is something we're working towards at actually one of my companies, where we are blending digital twins scanned at 0.001 millimeter resolution with blockchain and NFS records of the actual digital twin.
Nice.
So I'm kind of already doing the other thing that I would do if I were going to set up another business. So,
I mean, if it's something you're passionate about, go ahead. It's certainly worked you for the past. why wouldn't it work again?
Of course. I mean, that stuff, I mean, the way I build and design stuff is not really based on trends or market analysis or any of that very stereotypical Y Combinator stuff. I look at geopolitics, socioeconomics, and what's happening in pretty much every single country in the world around me. And I look at what are the biggest problems that everybody is experiencing. Like Vox Messenger was the answer to the problem of how does everybody have secure communications without giving up their data to governments and corporations who then say we have to give up that data to run the service. This is the reason why none of my business models at any of my companies are reliant on data exploitation in any shape or form. Admittedly, this has taken longer for my companies to get to revenue generating and raise funding, but I'm actually happy with that as an individual because I've been offered millions before in funding and I've turned them down because once you compromise for a quick buck, you'll find yourself compromising everywhere else. And we see that being demonstrated in the world around us. I mean, I can think of nothing worse than branding yourself as the freedom of speech absolutionist, taking over the town square, and then being the person responsible for the largest expulsion of people off of that platform that history has ever seen during that platform's creation. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
So by maintaining my independence of governments and other funding groups, I'm not in that position. I mean, which is kind of funny. I myself am ex-army. We actually have an army colonel on my board of directors at Cryotech. But don't get it twisted. It's been a case of the British government have had eyes on what we're doing, but they have not funded it. They have not influenced it. And they have had no shape or form any direct connection to it either.
Good point.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself 20 years from now?
Well, if any of the many three-letter agencies out there who apparently don't like me have decided not to have me assassinated, or I've not been hit by a car because I'm really rubbish at crossing the road while looking properly, I would say in 20 years, Akuma Engineering will be a multi-billion-dollar corporation that is sitting quietly in the background as an unknown element of a vast technological infrastructure. That's where I see it in 20 years.
Sweet.
You know, the future of Akuma is I'm not going to be selling. My exit is success. My exit is making these companies successful. That is it. If anybody knows what Cyberpunk, knows the storylines of Cyberpunk 2077, I would say that Akuma Engineering is the nearest real-world equivalency to the Arasaka Corporation. We are a 2,000-year corporation that will endure. And given that we are planning to launch a form of universal basic income on the 4th of November 2030, which is funded not from taxing the rich or anything as obscene apparently as that, but instead funded from our own profits, we're hoping that we will be able to be at the start of a new trend of compassionate capitalism, where corporations take a more active role in the positive supporting of communities and consumers at scale, potentially replacing the responsibilities that governments would have had, because governments have shown themselves to be, let's put it politely, asleep at the wheel, should we say. The stuff that governments do could not take place in any corporation without people going to jail or facing charges of criminal negligence and gross misconduct. That is why perhaps corporations are best placed to work collaboratively as we move from the 21st century into the 22nd with consumers and citizens all around the world.
Yes, couldn't agree more.
What about you? Where are you going to be? Well, what are your thoughts for 20 years?
Well, so right now I'm in university, and by the time I leave, I plan on doing some television acting as well as some voice work, and I'm also working on a project for a social media platform that most people vaguely remember.
Okay. Which was?
Uh, have you heard of a platform called Vine?
Vine. Oh my God. Yeah, I remember Vine. Vine is what I call the try-hard network because they so tried to come up hard against Twitter with short-form video as opposed to short-form text, right?
Yes, absolutely. It was the platform that created not just people of content creators, but also memorable memes that a lot of people would recite every now and then. Even today, that there's still Vine references. I hear them.
Yeah. Okay. So you're looking at creating a short-form video social network, right?
Yes,
Oh,
that's at least one part of it. The guy that created Vine, Dom Hoffman, was so sad when Vine got shut down. He's wanting to create another platform that would recreate the vibes that Vine had without making it too similar because copyright issue. Because
what if
Twitter,
What if
yes,
you had Vine meet? I mean, because bear in mind, the reason why the Apple Vision Pro fell flat on its face, apart from the fact that it always wrecks your hair as soon as you put it on, is the fact there was no content for it. The reason why the Meta Quest was so successful is because Zuckerberg, like a madman, according to investors, went around buying up all of the VR studios and game studios. And it worked because by buying up all those studios, he had a ton of content available for release of the Meta Quest. This is the reason why the Meta Quest did so well at launch in comparison to the Apple Vision Pro. Now, let's also not get it twisted. The price range also helped, but it's also content. If there'd been high quality content to deliver to the Apple Vision Pro, I don't think that they would have ended up reducing its price and cutting its production. So what if the next generation of Vine wasn't conventional 2D video, but instead the next generation of Vine was the world's first short form 3D spatial volumetric video?
I like where this is going.
Now think about this. There's a reason why volumetric video is such a game changer in content creation, because what's one of the key things about 3D video? The key thing about 3D video is that you, the viewer, the consumer of that video, can change your point of perspective and viewing at will in the 3D space. Now, that basically means you could have a music video showing up on this Vine platform, and the viewer can literally say you've got the standard camera angle and the camera is looking at the person rapping, but then the person can click and just drag it around and see this from the other side, or from an upward angle, or even from the artist between their legs, depending on how perverse they are. The whole thing is the fact is that with spatial video content, the consumer becomes the kind of passive director of the experience in real time.
Yes, now that is something very innovative.
Now imagine if you extended it further and then you added an almost like Instagram or Snapchat like remix feature. And then when somebody deploys a piece of spatial video content, other people could remix it by they themselves recording the output of changing the camera angle in exactly the same video. So this basically means from one single piece of 30-second content, the ability to create near infinite permutations just from the viewer, the consumer, being able to change their point of view in space in that 30-second clip are near infinite.
Yes, absolutely. There's tons of potential with that.
Well, you know what? That's your idea. It would be great. Hit me up after the show. I will definitely talk to you about, because we actually have the infrastructure to support that, and we have the technology that would actually enable. Bear in mind, with the spatial scan software, part of the reason why we have such an amazing offering is not just because I wrote this amazing markerless camera sync algorithm, but it's also because we acquired one of our competitors in the European space, which was EFEV, one of the oldest, if not the oldest, consumer commercial 3D spatial scanning software in Europe. And as I said, it's better than Spatial Scan, it's better than DepthKit, which is our direct competitor, because unlike us, they do not have a linear editor. So using the one piece of software, you can use it like Adobe Premiere, except you can connect your Kinect sensor to it and record in 3D and edit in the same software and then export directly to Unity and Unreal. That's why we're converting this software to mobile, because for what you've just described, if a platform like that existed, we could direct export out to it.
Yes, so much.
Well, you've found your technology partner, baby. So we got to have a talk about that one, most definitely.
Yes, we're onto something, and I love it.
Okay, so apart from the Vine thing, where would you be in 20 years? You looking at the standard stuff like you'll have bought a house, haha, in this economy, good luck. You'll have paid your student debt, haha, good luck in this economy. What else?
Well, let's see, television acting, voice work, project. Yeah, I'm not sure beyond that. I think like something that a couple years time that I didn't know was gonna happen, but it somehow happened, and it's actually turned out great for the best of me.
Hmm. Okay. So with the acting, what kind of stuff are you into in terms of acting? Are you a John? Are you a kind of like a John Wick? Are you more a Hugh Grant?
Uh, John Wick.
Oh, okay. So you can do all your own stunts, huh?
I guess so, yeah.
Okay, I'm not paying your insurance on a guess. So. Okay, well,
I have the confidence.
oh, good grief. Yeah, that's how the best accidents happen too. Um, okay, this is very interesting actually, because there's actually a lot of potential synergies there because I can't go into too much detail, but the stuff we're the people we're in talks with our spatial scan software it is in the movie industry. So it'd be definitely good for us to stay in contact and have more of a discussion about some of these other things you're interested in, actually.
Yes. Wow, that's looking great.
Okay, back to the interview. Your next question for me.
Where has been the furthest you traveled to from where you were originally from?
Well, given I grew up in Birmingham, I was born in Birmingham, grew up in Birmingham. When I was but a child, I ended up moving to Greece and living in a beautiful village called Nausa for 2 years in what is now northern Macedonia. Then I moved to Alicante in Spain when I was a tweener and lived for 2 years there. I went back to Greece to shoot a documentary. Then I went to Budapest in Hungary to shoot a documentary. Went to Venice for New Year's with my wife. I'd say Venice is the furthest I've traveled from where I am.
Okay, sounds good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you were to host a dinner party and could invite five guests, dead or alive, who would you invite?
Okay, so is this a dinner party where these are people I actually like, or is this dinner party that I plan to completely Lucretia Borgia poison these people at?
Uh, let's go with the first one.
Okay, then. Okay. If it's actually people I like, you see, this is the problem because there are so many people I like in history, and then given the recent historical revelations about lots of different people, it turns out there isn't anybody in history who is actually exactly as they said they were. You know, so I would say if I was going to have somebody for my dinner party, I would have first person I would have would be, and this is going to sound wild, but bear with me, I'd have Genghis Khan because you know Genghis Khan, in terms of media rep, gets a very bad rep. But bear in mind, this guy literally built one of the biggest, if not the biggest, empire with a level of peace internally that was envied by many. So Genghis Khan. The next would be Mansa Musa. Mansa Musa, even to this day, by modern terms, was the richest man in all of history. He was the seventh. He was the seventh Mansa of the Mali Empire. So Mansa Musa, Genghis Khan, Marie Curie. Marie Curie, and it would have been an incredibly interesting woman to talk to, especially given her background and all of the technology, the actual stuff she was developing, and her discoveries in radium and which were running parallel to Röntgen were incredible. And again, to this day, still don't get enough publicity, probably because why? Well, she was a woman. So those three initially. Albert Einstein after Marie Curie. Then Oppenheimer, just so I could say to Oppenheimer, are you for real? You did not see any of this coming. Duh. And then Bernays. And why Bernays? Freud's student. Not because I like him, just so I can slap him silly for bringing us consumer capitalism.
That's a very good lineup.
What about you? Who would you have for dinner?
Well, to be honest, I'm more of a sports guy, so of course I would want to invite two of the greatest football players, like Messi and Ronaldo, and then there's three more. Uh, there's so much more I could invite, but of course, got to keep it short-listed. Uh, uh, I'd say Trump because he's a interesting lad. He's out there, so
Well,
I'd
I
like to
mean,
see what's up with that.
you'd only invite Trump if you wanted nobody else to speak, basically, because he's going to talk for all of the other 5 guests for you.
I guess so, yeah. The other two, dang.
See, it gets tricky when you actually have to think about it, doesn't it?
Yes, I might think of having Obama because I'd like to see how that dynamic goes. And finally, just top off the goofiness, Boris Johnson, because
Wow, you've literally, you know what? It's absolutely fine because I would let Genghis Khan know when your dinner party is happening, and me and Genghis Khan would come and pay your dinner party a visit. I'm telling you that now because there's a couple of people there we would want to have words with, especially Mr. Boris Johnson.
uh-huh,
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
yep, very intriguing and interesting. But hey, it all makes for good conversation, I guess.
Well, yes, until the police. Bear in mind, this is the United Kingdom 2024, so now there is a high chance I'm going to have police. When this is aired, within minutes, London Met Police will be stomping up onto my driveway with counter-terrorism, stating, "You made some comments about Boris Johnson in your podcast." But hold on, I thought we lived in a democracy. You didn't get the memo. Obviously, that changed in 2023.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yes. It all makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that could lead to some very interesting conversations, but that will definitely get your channel cancelled.
I mean, could be worse. I'm up for it, to be honest, because I'm a risk taker. So you know what? Give it their best, I guess.
Well, in the United Kingdom, I mean, given that I'm assuming you've got a student loan for your degree, right?
Yes.
Yeah, then you're obviously a risk taker because everybody knows that shit ain't getting paid in your lifetime. Not if you're going to be working in the British economy.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
certainly that. So
it's absolutely ridiculous, to be honest. But yeah, But don't worry. Hopefully, in the future, my technology will gain a lot more utility and usage around the country, and we'll be able to influence policy and actually help to fund things like contributing to making education free in this country the way it should be.
absolutely. What is your favorite quote?
My favorite quote. Actually, my favorite quote's really offensive, so I can't actually give you that one. Just to give you an idea of how offensive it is, it's from the series The Boys, so you know it's going to be pretty offensive. So I'm going to think of one that's offensive comic book related. There is no spoon is perhaps one of my favorite quotes. It comes from The Matrix. It's what the boy says to Neo when he is in the Oracle's house. And when you actually think of the actual sentence, there is no spoon, if you understand quantum mechanics, it's actually incredibly profound, because one of the key components of reality is that reality is subjective. It's already been proven through experiments like the Gateway process by the Rand Institute, which was recently confirmed by the CIA and under Senate committee public address as a valid technology. It has been demonstrated and proven that we are effectively living in a holographic existence. We are but selves, mirrors of a holographic energetic self. As soon as you realize that all of reality is subjective, you suddenly realize that with enough focus and enough will, you can bend reality to what you want. And we see this demonstrated all around us. The people with the strongest wills bend reality to their will, and the rest of us largely then believe in their reality. It's proven time and time again. And I've become very confident in this methodology, to the point that I would actually say that a lot of my success, particularly over the past 8 years, has been actually very empirically focusing on how to apply my focus and will directively and subjectively on the things that I'm trying to accomplish. That's the reason why we have had an insane growth rate within less than 7 to 8 months. This is the reason why, even as a startup, we've already made our first acquisition and are on our way for our second and third acquisition already. These are unheard of things in this field.
Yes, it's brilliant.
It will be when it's all fully like revenue generating, but it's getting there. We have UC Irvine using our software. We have almost 90,000 users on Vox Messenger all over the world. We have over 4,000 pre-registrations on Vox Crypto. We have a ton of crypto projects and partners all aching and waiting, champing at the leash for when VoxPay comes out in a few weeks to get started with that. So things are looking very promising. We're very hopeful for what comes next. And even if disaster were to strike and World War III were to break out, because bear in mind, if you look at what's happening in the world around us and correlate it to what happened just before the start of World War II, we only need one medium-sized conflict in one of the 3 arenas to break out, and we have World War III, basically. So even if that were to take place tomorrow, everything that we have planned and everything we have discussed today is still going to take place, irrelevant of that. And the reason for that is because the way in which we are funded, the way in which we're constructed, and the way we are doing business is so massively decoupled from the standard consumer capitalist paradigm that when things shake the rest of the world, they do not shake us.
Yes, indeed. And that is all we have for this episode. It's great having you on, J. Webb Benjamin, talking about your works as a technologist, the companies you've been a part of, and the influence for the future, and many other things. It's been great.
Hey, it's been great being here, and definitely hit me up after this. Send me your details. We've got to talk about the spatial version of Vine. And by the way, founder of Vine, if you really are hurting from the acquisition of Vine and you are hearing this show and you've heard the contents of this show, reach out to either one of us. Come and find Akuma Engineering, because the future of Vine is still here, and the future of it is in short form spatial volumetric video content.
Sounds good to me. And until next time, stay tuned for more.